like I noticed, like even when I went back to look at mine, and I don't want to speak on my students.
Yeah.
Um,
Those ESOL students.
the ESOL students.
Okay.
Yes. So them understanding that what I noticed, kind of looked at when we did the distributed property, how cutting, going by rows.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of focus on that. This question, you had to do columns also. So a lot of them kind of struggled. They got the rows part, but the other part where I think it was C and E, where they had to do, for number two, where they had to do split it with the columns and not just the row. So
explain what you're talking about for that question.
okay, so
this one right
this
here.
question, so it was 8 rows and 7 columns. We spend a lot of time going over, okay, I'm gonna split the rows. So I have four times 7, 4 times 7 at the bottom. Versus now I gotta do my columns where I may have 9 times 4, or 8 times 4, and then 4 times 8. So it's based off how the triangle was split. So the the square. Yeah, so if we did a rectangle here, they got it when they could split the array this way.
Okay.
But when it was time for them to split the array this way, that's where the confusion came in that I noticed for most of mine.
I wonder why though.
Yeah. Because a lot of them, I know that they understood the concept of splitting the array, but most of, and I'm not saying it was all of it, but most of on the learning plan, it was so focused on doing it this way.
If you learned it that way, you wouldn't. The other way, you wouldn't have got it. You think?
I don't think it was a lot of not getting it, but it was so many of splitting the rows and not splitting the columns that if we focus more of this, than this.
So that when they were
when it was time to take it, it was hard for them to conceptually see that I can still split this. It's still one large array, but I know how to do it this way, but I struggled doing it this way.
Got it.
Because it wasn't as heavily concentrated in the learning plan.
Okay, so it wasn't in the learning plan, but did you ever put that in a small group to say, hey, this might be something you...
So once I kind of looked to see, okay, well, they need to understand how to split this array, both factors. Not just doing the 8 times 7, I'm gonna distribute the value of my 8, but I also need to know that I may have to not distribute the value of the 8, I have to distribute the value of 7. So going back and doing that. So they understood, for me, they kind of understood that, but that was the main time I could catch them up was in small group because it wasn't so much on the learning plan.
Well, let me ask you then, did you notice that level of deficit as far as those two before they took the test, or when you looked at the data you saw? Oh,
it kind of came more to once they took the test, because they could get it. Like when we whole grouping, they understand. But then when it was like, okay, now I need to be able to figure out, okay, I got that I have to, I'm doing it on my own, or it may not. It kind of, to me, I kind of caught it a lot more so after they actually took the test. But because I kind of knew that they was going to have to be exposed to it, then that's when I tried to catch up with them as much as I could in small group. Okay. And I'm not saying that the learning plan didn't talk about it at all, because it did. It did, but this way was so more primary. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had to try to.
So you felt like that was going to be on the test more so than the other?
Or them being able to understand that either way, whether you're cutting your rows or your columns, you are still distributing the value of one large array, no matter which way, whether you're going rows or columns. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think another strategy would have helped with that one? Because when I looked at it, I was thinking more of another strategy than the rows and columns, but did the learning plan specifically say the row?
Yeah. And that was it was almost kind of like that was the only way. It wasn't no alternative. It was kind of like that was the only way on the learning plan when they had to take the one large to split it to do it that way.
So then now you see why. Yeah.
I mean,
But looking at the data of the ESOL kids, I think a lot of them didn't even understand to choose more than one
and that was
answer.
the other
That's
one.
that's
If you look, a lot of them
Yeah.
just chose one
One.
answer.
Mhm. That's what I noticed too.
I was looking at mine, so like when I went back, it's like okay, they chose some of the correct answers.
Yes. Yeah,
It
so
was
I
just
have
all, it wasn't all of the
the
correct.
correct.
so I did some,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
understanding of it,
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I was looking at. I was like,
So they made it just go all the way through each
all the-
one. So a lot of times you try to tell them, make sure you saw each one all the way through.
Mhm.
But sometimes when they just figure out,
Figure
oh,
out.
A is it, like you see,
Sophia.
yes, she
Uh-huh.
only chose A because she probably did A and said, oh, well, this is it.
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel good about that too.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because when I pulled it up yesterday, we did our data analysis yesterday. Our data error. And we went through, how I do that? But no, it was, and then them paying attention to like it said in all caps and in bold, choose all. So now we're going back to like test taking strategies. Like y'all have to pay attention to what the question is asking and going back through. So once we pulled it up, she was like, it was like a reflection moment for her too.
So how are you exposing them to making sure you select multiple ones? What are you doing?
So one, I've incorporated more of it in my morning work, so that they're knowing. Okay, there's multiple opportunity. Two, we're doing that when we do our common assessment. Especially since we want it to be on a platform that they're taking the test in. So on our common assessment, doing multiple select. And then them just really taking the time and just them using that language and that vocabulary in normal conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So in whole group, are y'all talking about it?
Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And then that was the first one that I noticed that the those ESOL students scored the lowest in, and then also it was question number 13. What is that? Yeah, it is. That was question 13, and it wasn't. It was only one. You only picked one.
For my students, when we went back over this yesterday, I asked them, because I think my class percentage was 56 on question number 13, when I just narrowed down on my class. A lot of them, okay, we understood. They was like, okay, I know it's not B because you're not talking about a triangle. Okay, so when we're dealing with square units. So they easily could identify that. But then I had some of mine that's doing option A and B. So the ones that got that wrong, they was picking A and B. B.
Okay.
Yeah, but then once I broke it down, like that's 2 square units, and I literally did a square and to show them how multiple squares can fit, and then I put this one to show that 4 can fit in this one. So once I explained it, that one boy was like, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Like, they just looked at, some of them just looked at the shape, like, saying, okay, this is a square, that's my answer, but no, you gotta go back, because really, 4 square units can fit in this one square, if we, how I broke it down. So for them, it was a lot of not really understanding how the sizes affect the square unit for this particular question. Or one boy was like, Miss Peter, the answer is not in here because they want to put automatically do 8 centimeters.
Yeah.
Because they're doing area, but I got to me. Yeah, the answer's not here. So that was one thing he had. That's sorry.
It looked like that was a tough question. I was like, overall, majority of them did not understand that.
And you see, most of them chose D because if you look at going down all of this, the main chose D. Chosen was D because they're looking at that size. D and A. And that was mine too.
Because out of those 20 ESOL students, 7 of them got them right. So we got 13 that you said fit B or A. So it seems like they're slowly kind of grasping the material. So let me ask, are they still struggling so much so with the understanding of what to do, or is it now like we can really focus on the math? Because at first, it was, I don't even understand what these words mean. I don't even know what they want me to do. So do you see that they do understand it more?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, honestly, almost each assessment we're taking is because even if, like, especially when we compare unit 1 to unit 2, even though it's different, but our beta is so much better in unit 2, which I was already so much more confident anyway, just in the past history, but also them kind of conceptualize. And then, of course, I have to break down things a little differently for my homegrown versus my second block. So, them understanding, like, one of them in particular, like Ethan, he can get it if he understands it. Like, he can grasp stuff, but it takes him a little bit. It takes him a little bit longer for him to really process it. And then when he first does that, it's like, "What? How did you, how did you come up with that?" And then I try to listen to his reasoning, and it makes in his mind it really makes sense.
Yeah. So, I think that's a powerful strategy too, just listening to
Yeah, I'm gonna say that.
Yeah. They feel very strong about
Exactly. Yeah.
but sometimes it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times it
And I say, okay, I don't understand how that makes sense. Can you, but understand me? But and I tell them, I don't mind, academic discourse. I don't mind you talking like I hear you talking. So I can hear your misconceptions. I don't want to just write an answer down, but how did you come up with that answer?
Right.
Like, because if you missed a step, maybe I just need to, it may be something I can get you real quick, fix that, and then you'll get the answer correct. So I love listening to that. And then if you get it wrong, like, tell me how that makes sense.
And that way, even have them repeat it once you walk them through it. Say, now tell me fact. Tell me in your own words what I just, guided you through. So, because when you talk it out, then you understand it better. So,
Exactly.
So do they normally help each other out though? Because I know we used to use like lifeline, like hey, can you help me? Or whatever, something like that. Can you add to what I already have? Like a limited understanding of it, but maybe you have a little bit more. Put it all together, something like that. Because I see what that helps also. The number and 15, it was at 11 out of the 20. So like you said, if this is so much, this data is so much better than that's a big difference, a huge difference. And I was like, yes, I can see these kids. I can see us really meeting the goal of the ESOL students growing by that 15%. I can see it.
I didn't think it would either, but like if they didn't understand, they seen that 10 and 4 and say, okay, 10 and 4 make 14, but not understanding that it's area and with multiplying, it's area, so they, So the ones that you see, they might call that red is C.
Oh yeah.
Because they instead of multiplying.
Where?
Yeah, that's up. Exactly. So that I think as we move into and then see this unit that focus on area but in square unit. We don't really dive deep into area until I think it's unit 5 or 6 when we get to perimeter. So I could see how like we doing area and we doing the area as square units, but on the learning plan it wasn't a lot of doing left times width. They don't do that a lot until we get to the further unit. This was a good introduction to area. So I could see why there still may be some misconceptions on here if it wasn't really truly introduced to them doing the length times width. Yeah, we only introduced the S square unit.
So since this is just like the beginning of it, then I wonder should that have even been a question that was on the test, because if they have not, this is just the beginning of it. I can understand when they get to perimeter an area because they have a little bit of exposure now, and then we're going to dive into it later. Why test them now on this and punish them if they don't? Now I could see if it was just a test question that the answer was just thrown out and it was just it didn't matter, but they were deemed for this on their grade, and so like you said in the learning plan, if it wasn't really hard, wasn't taught a lot because it wasn't in the plan. Why hold them accountable for that? I mean, it's good to see who gets it. But again, I don't think it should have been a question that was
for this, not for this unit.
Right,
That should
right.
be when we actually take.
Later on down.
Exactly.
Only thing I think they're gonna use against us for that one is you probably still could have split this. You know how we taught them?
With the distributor.
Yeah, or make the rows and columns. Like you could have, went and did and see which one, because when you would have got to the 14, you would have had 3. So not this one. I'm sorry. When you would have got to this one, yes, it still would not have added up if you would have did your rows and columns. Because you would have had way more. You would have had 40. So if you did 4 rows and split it into 10 columns, it's still not going to equal. And that's without me knowing the times with.
Yeah.
So that would have been like a good strategy if they do get something like this. Tell them go ahead, make the rows and columns inside here, because in their minds they don't supposed to know less time split.
But that would be more so if they doing it on paper, but then having to do that on the computer
That's
is
true.
different.
I forgot.
Yeah.
That's when I go back to the old days.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But then if you really understand on paper and proof, you can do it in drawing.
Right.
Yeah, but you have to, especially like with the ESOL students, that concept,
Mm-hmm.
because they need the hands stuff.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of them need the hands stuff, but especially so if they're having to go from the concrete and doing it this way, they may not be able to see it on the computer. Now if there was a way that could, be, like in a Word document or whatever, you can create a chart or whatever. If there was a way that they could like put how many rows and how many columns to make it, then that would be more hands-on for them. They could do it like that on the computer if that was an option. Tool, yeah, if that was a tool that was implemented in the test, but we don't have that option. So, like the kids who are math-minded, they don't even probably have to do anything. They can just look at it and see, oh, okay, I know what that is. But we do have some kids in ESOL who are math-minded, but there's, it's, I don't know.
I think another thing too, especially with our ESOL, that I've had to and get better. Mine was to get better on, but we're so ready on if we stick to the learning plan how it is, and we introduce it. Sometimes we may be moving from concrete to representational too fast. So with them, we gotta step back. Like, okay, yes, I know, like on my learning plan, but I may have to extend my whole group out a little bit longer because, or go back and retouch it, touch on it in small group. But just not okay. Well, they have to on their learning plan. We got to stick to this, and yes, we do. But if they're not ready to go to representation, we may need to stay on concrete a little bit longer. We may need to do a few more examples. So, if on the learning plan it says, do 2 examples, we may have to do 4.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So stay on that a little bit longer before we move on to the representational. When they get that, okay, let's from representational before we move on to abstract. So I think as a teacher, that's where it's important for us to know when we know our class and our students before we move to the next
Right. Because like they say, even though they're providing these learning plans, it's just that a plan. And then you got to make it a fit for your plan. And I think sometimes we do look at those plans and we think this is it. Everything. That's it. But no, we still have to, you still have to have it to fit.
Oh, I understand, but I'm saying from what I've heard, and I have not from here, but just outside people, like that they want the learning plan. It's like you have to stick to it.
Yeah, but like you said, she's sticking to the learning plan, but I'm adding a little bit more.
Right, but I mean, like one of my friends at another school, she said that they told her that they didn't want them to do remediation. And she's like, I'm putting that in my small groups because how are you going to get the kids to master if you don't remediate? Right. So she was saying that what she was told at her school is that you can't like deviate. It's like if they come in, they have to see you on that learning plan doing this, like they don't want to see you deviate from it. But to me, that's like you're just crippling the kids and you're just, you're not allowing them to be right. Yeah, that's it. You're just checking off boxes. Okay, I did this, but there's no mastery.
That's the ultimate goal is for them to master these skills.
Absolutely. So
So, and I'll share that too with our maids in Alexander. Cause just looking, just kind of looking at the school, like, okay, yes, those kids are in Esau. I mean, Esau, but to look at, Sophia, yes, she may have, didn't select all options in A, but her overall score was a blue. Was an 82. You know what I'm saying? So when we go back and then Lucero, 94, she was blue. So kind of going back and looking at, but then they changed. That's another thing. 70 used to be yellow. Is it now 72? Because they changed our measure.
Yeah, it used to be 70.
Yeah,
Right.
It would be yellow, but now, 70 is still red. And our 70 is red. I think it's 69. It is still red. Yes. Yeah.
On here.
It is 69. And, yep, 70 used to be yellow.
Now,
70 is
blue,
blue.
cause I see 80 something is blue.
No,
Is that right?
No, that's actually a green.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
So 72 is now.
Where somebody made a 70.
Look at Harmony. Yeah. And she's new to the project. Yeah, so
Because that's not considered.
we talked about in our data meeting last, I remember them mentioning that they changed the scale now. So 72 is now yellow, not 70.
Even in IC?
No, not
in
in
IT.
Yeah. Yeah.